You're listening to Real Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out realradio.com. Welcome to Real Radio. This is the Real Estate Rundown with Owen Dashner
and Ted Kosh.
Oh, you switched it up.
I did.
I switched up too.
A little acapella there.
You know what's talking about switching it up? Seeing you at the Supernovas game.
Oh man, that was so fun.
Little volleyball.
That was a good game. Like, you've been to one before, right?
Yeah, the tickets you gave me was the first one and only one I've been to up in that. And this time I had Marty from Blackstone Insurance tickets.
Yeah, that was so fun. I love those games. I especially enjoyed seeing the. I don't even know how to describe this. Okay, for those of you that have seen
I know what you're talking about.
The Lion King, where he holds Simba over the edge of the mountaintop or the cliff.
They want everybody to hold their baby.
So they do. Yeah, they want everyone to hold their baby up in the crowd, and then they pan around the crowd and show everybody on camera. You know, like, here's my baby. They're holding him out like Simba. So Ted. Will you chime in here? I can't hold it together. It was freaking hilarious.
So that happened to Carson, my son, which is 11. He's like, "Dad, put me up in there." I go, "Seriously?" Because he's not that guy.
How old is, or how much does Carson weigh? Do you think? I'll ballpark it.
85.
Okay,
85 pounds. So
we'll call him 100 pounds.
So I picked up Carson, which is like 5'1", and I raised him up in the air like Simba.
I don't even know what prompted me to look over at you while all this was happening.
How do you miss it?
But I saw you holding him in the air, and I took a photo of it, and then I blew it up and I sent it to you. And it was classic. I mean, you have to post that on the Real Radio reels.
Okay, so if you are watching the video,
oh my god, I was dying.
If
laughing.
you're watching the video version of this right now, we will. You can check it out right now. And so there. Can you guys see that? There you go. If you're watching the YouTube or Rumble right now, you can see it.
Photo cred Owen Dashner on that one.
Yeah.
Owen Money Real Estate.
The smile on his face.
Oh my God. It was so freaking funny. Like, my kids were like, oh my God, I can't. They were embarrassed on behalf of him.
What? That was his idea.
I know. It was awesome. Like, that was so fun. No, that was a great day. Yeah, we got to hang out for 5-10 minutes or whatever. Yeah, quick beer. And
were your girls like, you hang out with that guy?
No, they know you. Like, they know the whole deal. They just give me eye rolls every time I talk about the podcast. So, but yeah, that was super fun.
One day when we die, our kids will listen to every episode.
Will they?
I mean, I would if my dad was.
I for sure would. Yeah, I don't know, man. The eye rolls are so heavy right now with me. You just wait, buddy.
There will be a day.
Teenage years.
There will be a day our kids listen to every episode. I put my life on it.
We'll see. Avery, Olivia, you're on notice. Okay, you listen to this. Take something away from it.
Carson, Skyler, you're probably like 40 years old by now, and I love you guys, and I hope you guys appreciate everything.
No way, man. We're gonna live till like 150. Come on, bro.
I'm just saying, my kids are probably 40 now when they're listening to this.
That probably checks out.
This reminds me like Back to the Future, like, and then the kids are gonna like respond to us, like they're like gonna be like down the road, and they're gonna say, "I listened to that episode 209," and we're gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah, oh man, that would be weird. I don't know, man. Like, part of me kind of wishes I'd like them to experience it with me, but I know, like, I'm cringy or whatever. The kids skibbity. I don't even know what they call people now. But
maybe we're doing this long enough that one day we'll have all the kids here at the table with us.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that, but we can dream, right?
One day, maybe.
Yeah. So I have some news. So I have a long simmering project that I've been incubating for a while now with some partners. This is a deal I bought in Ralston, Nebraska, which is a little suburb of Omaha.
Property.
Yeah. Bought a dilapidated.
How long simmering? Because this has been
2 years,
I was gonna guess
2.5.
3, yeah.
Yeah, I've maybe 3.
I feel like you've been talking about almost the whole entire podcast.
This is one of those that I kind of took the ostrich approach and just stuck my head in the sand, just been like, I'm going to pretend this hasn't taken as long as it has, because it's been a long time coming. So long incubated deal. Finally, we closed on a construction loan on it, which there's so much to this.
I can't believe
if you want to get involved. So by the way, if you want to get involved, anybody catching this episode, if you're like, I really want to develop a property or redevelop something, like, just buckle up, because you're going to be sleeping for a long time on it. It takes forever to get stuff done. It's not like a house flip.
I don't remember if it was like on or off air. It's probably off air because I didn't want to like hurt your feelings.
Throw me under the bus.
Yeah, and I'm like,
you're like, what is taking so long?
No, because I remember I was like looking at my life, and at that point in my life, I was like, I had 2 projects with a partner. I had 2 projects under construction. And the money was just going out so fast that I could not recuperate the amount of money that was going out the window. And I'm sitting there, and I still haven't recuperated. But and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm going to die. and like, what am I doing? My wife is going to murder me. Like, and I'm like, I thought about you. And I was like,
you're like, well, Owen's not dead yet. He's way worse than me.
And I'm like, no, I had this realization moment, I feel like I'm equals with you in a lot of ways, but also I'm a realist that you've done so much more and doing so much more.
It's only because I've been alive longer. That's the only reason.
But I was like, I looked at what you're doing, and I'm like, it's the same thing on a different scale. It literally is the same amount of projects and the same amount of dollars going out. It's just different zeros.
Yeah.
But the same stress and the same timelines I was dealing with. And I'm like, nothing changes.
It really doesn't, man. That's interesting that you brought that up, because, you see all these social media posts from influencers, and they always have these like catchy little phrases that are, shared by millions of people or whatever. But it's always fairly generic, and it's like, the more experienced you are, the larger the problems you solve, and like that's basically the gist of it. But that really is it. I mean, it's just like another zero. It's the same stress, the same everything that you're dealing with on let's say it's your first deal, a single family house flip, or a rental that you're doing. It doesn't change. You're just more adept at dealing with the problems that arise, and it doesn't seem like as much of a problem because you know the solution already. The difference is when you're first starting out, or maybe you just have a few reps under your belt, you've never gone through the solution, so you don't know the answer, and struggling to find the answer is the whole stress. Right?
It's true.
And so when you know the end game and what it is, you just don't stress about it as much.
That's why we always say just get that first deal going.
Yes.
Because once you get that first deal, no matter what size it is, you feel a lot more comfortable. You feel a little bit more seasoned, and the second deal doesn't feel as exhausting.
Okay, I'm a Marvel guy, and I started kind of delving into the DC universe a little while ago. I started watching like Man of Steel.
Not enough Marvel coming out to
right, yeah.
Void.
Yeah, and I watched what was it, Batman versus Superman, and there was a supervillain there. God, what's his name? Have you seen it?
Batman versus Superman, you said?
Yeah. God, I cannot believe I can't remember this. You can never kill him the same way. Like, he won't die. He's basically more or less immortal. But if you stab him or whatever, he'll heal, and then you can never stab him again. And if you shoot him, same thing, whatever.
It's kind of like Wonder Woman.
So it's basically in that vein where eventually you kind of become a supervillain, maybe, or a superhero, depending on...
You're immune to all the different things.
Yes, yeah. You kind of just develop thick skin that doesn't allow whatever injured you in the past to injure you again. And you can take that forward, and the same thing happens the next time you encounter a problem that seems insurmountable. You just deal with it and figure it out, or find people that know how to do it because you don't have any experience with it, and then you get experience with it, and then you're like, that's not that big of a deal. I already know how to solve this.
Do you feel like you just want to do like a Hulk roar right now? Like that?
Yeah, no, not so much.
Okay.
But that's kind of what it's like. It's like you develop this thicker skin over time, and the things that used to injure you really badly, mentally, physically, whatever, they just don't bother you as much because you've already been through the reps. And that's why, to your point, that's why the first deal is the most important one that you do. Like, how many real estate investors do you know that have only ever done one real estate deal?
I think of one
Can you?
specifically.
I can't think of one.
I can't.
Don't mention their name. But what happened?
The one name that comes to mind is he had that wonderful project he did with you guys.
Yeah,
and then,
meaning we did the hard money loan on it, and he.
and then we did like a bus tour.
Oh man, I totally forgot about that.
And then like we went to the property and we're like, we are in an area that did not suit the house that he built. Plus, it was like so done wrong. And I don't think that guy ever went back to it because he almost lost his wife. If did lose his wife over that deal.
Oh man. Okay, this is an area, and I went through this house. I saw it.
We did a bus tour there.
Yeah, I wasn't at the bus tour, but I went through it separately. But I walked in and I was like, dude, I would put this kitchen in my kitchen. Like, now, the kitchen was really nice.
But he bought it out of like a mansion and then had it custom fitted to this place.
It was,
and it didn't fit right.
No, it was like the best intentions followed by the worst execution.
Oh,
like there was it was just,
remember, like the plumbing was off and the electrical lights, you turn one switch on, something else went on. And I remember I think my brother did the wood floors. My brother was like, what the hell? I think my dad, he hired my dad to come in and do some finishing work for him. And my dad's like, why did you call me? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So he's out. He just pieced out after that deal. I mean, I don't blame him, I guess.
I think he went just back to being a waiter after that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's exactly what happened.
Because I remember I went to a steakhouse to eat dinner and he was our server.
This was an area, by the way, where if you step out of your car and don't lock it within 5 seconds, somebody's probably jumping into it and driving off.
This is the place that you get the $30,000 off market houses.
Yes.
And I remember we had a limo bus tour and he like literally was like, I will pay money to extend the pay for the extra hour of limo to get everybody's opinion on my place. So we paid like $100 for the extra hour on the limo bus. We pulled this limo bus on and people were looking at the bus like, what, like,
oh, they're coming outside and they're like, what is going on?
Not that they come out, everybody was already outside. So this was an area that you pull in and the average price of the house is probably around $30,000. And when we pulled the bus up, limo buses just generally don't come around here, and we were getting eyes and it was just really uncomfortable. And we go in this property and it was done so over the top beautiful, and then you go in the basement and it was like, and he put a full bar and everything in, but it was so short that like most of us couldn't stand up.
So the story on that is he totally ran out of money on the upstairs, and then you go in the basement and you're like, oh. Like that was the story. I mean, you could totally tell what happened when you walked into the house. And then to your point, like I think he got like his AC stolen twice or something. I mean, it was just, the point being,
I felt so bad for that guy.
I did too. I literally, and Brandon and I went out there, we spent time with him, we talked to him, and it was just like, this sucks, man, but like you way over improve this for the area, and like
you'll never get money back out.
Yeah, like this, you're upside down. This is what happens. This is why you got to be careful on these, and don't flip in areas where you're gonna have a hard time selling, or there's a big risk of theft and all that stuff. That's not the area you want to operate in.
It was my most memorable property I've ever walked into, where I walked into something for somebody.
Yeah,
and I just like, there were so many lessons I took out of that. Actually, I felt so bad for him, but it was also a really impactful property for me to walk through. And I personally learned a lot, and I've shared the lessons that I learned from him. I wish we could have him on the podcast just to talk about the failures,
to debrief it.
because there would be so many people listening to that and be like, oh, I thought about that. Oh, first timers.
Yeah.
I don't think he would ever come on.
Yeah. You're on the couch watching HGTV, Flip or Flop, or 10 million episodes on wherever's the latest, greatest.
But that should be the episode.
Yeah.
That property needs to be an episode.
Yeah,
that is the true failing forward.
That is a good point. Okay, this leads up to a impromptu golden nugget. Here's a mistake I made when I first started out. Well, yeah, let's just stick with that. I would buy what I could because it was cheap, and I thought cash flow is king. I want to generate enough income to pay the bills. Blah 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 blah. And then, this kind of dovetails with our conversation with Terry Shanahan last week, where he talked about a mistake he made was in his flurry of activity to accumulate over 200 doors, he bought a lot of lower income properties, just crappy houses and not great areas that appeared to cash flow well, but the reality was he couldn't make a profit out of it because of all the damages or just non-paying tenants and that kind of thing. And I made some of those same mistakes. When you first start out, your inclination is like, I have X in the bank, I can only afford something cheap, and therefore that's going to be my first few acquisitions. And I think that's a mistake, especially if you have the ability to buy something else, say with private money, hard money, like some type of financing. You want to go for margin. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a multi-million-dollar house for your first deal. I'm not saying that, but go to an area where inventory sells really fast. That's your first indicator, and it's all relative to what the market conditions are currently. Really fast could mean same day you list it, you sell it. Really fast could be in 2008 or 9 relative to the market, you're selling it in 30 days. Like, it's all relative to what's going on right now. So I think this is kind of a timeless tip. And if you operate with looking for margin as opposed to looking for price point, that can be a big shift in how you evaluate deals moving forward. Mm-hmm. So you look for margin, not price point on the acquisition, depending on what you're going to do with the property. Obviously, don't over leverage and don't buy a crazy big house just because you can and it's a big spread, but it's going to crush you on the cash flow. Like, look at all those things, yes, but don't buy something that's cheap just because it's cheap. You're going to regret it later at some point, and it could be a year later, it could be 5 years later, but you will always end up moving up into larger, bigger, better quality projects. And I think if you can skip over some of that by focusing on things that generate cash in your pocket through margin as opposed to price point, that's what I would say for today's golden nugget.
When I think about my first deal, I bought specifically because it was cheap and it hit the price point.
Yeah,
I think it was, like I mentioned before, I think it was $11,000 I spent on that first house, and it was a huge lift. But I honestly I couldn't have had a better first deal in the end.
Mm-hmm. It taught you construction and like all the costs associated with it, right? Because you had to do everything.
On top of all that, it also taught me, what to do with the property thereafter. It taught me how to deal with contractors with getting codes and permits and whatnot. And I would never take that back. But when I work with somebody as an agent that wants to be a first time investor, the conversation I always have with them is like, don't rush the first deal.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is that you feel comfortable with that we're moving forward with, you need to make sure that first deal is a home run, because if it is a deal like that one we just discussed earlier,
mm-hmm.
you fall out of it, and then you never do another one. When I was in the full force of being an investment real estate agent, and that was all I did, there was numerous times that I watched investors getting that first deal that never did a second deal because they didn't do it right, and they lost ton of money,
mm-hmm.
or time or respect from their spouse. And so I'm always like, hey, I don't care if it takes 3 months or 12 months. Make sure the first deal is solid. Understand it, learn it, get the first one, but you want it to be a profit.
Yeah, I think actually this kind of reminds me of something that just happened to me today.
It's Friday. Things always happening on Friday.
Brandon and I were walking a house that I got a lead from a virtual wholesaler. So he basically called me cold and said, I have this house under contract. It's in, South Omaha. This was interesting, the conversation I had, because he's like, when he called me, I think originally he was calling me to get a loan.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to wholesale it.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived in Utah or Idaho or something, right? So not local, but I mean, he had experience. So he kind of knew what he was doing for a virtual wholesaler. He called and he was like, yeah, I have this property under contract. I'm looking to either wholesale it, or I may, so I may need a loan for it, take it down, and then I'll just clean it up and relist it. Or I may end up just wholesaling it if I get the right offer for it. And I'm like, and me, I have two hats, right? So I have the lender hat and I have the, like I'm a flipper hat. This was interesting because he told me what he had it under contract at. And then I said, well, what would you take for it?
He's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I already knew the number.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of an unfair advantage in this, scenario, but he wanted to make 35 grand on the spread.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to get it under contract for X and then sell it for Y and then take 35K out of the middle. And he doesn't even live here. He's never even walked the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was dealing with his family, and I didn't get a ton of details. So I'm like, when can I look at it? I'm like, look, I'll go through it. We'll for sure do the loan because he was buying it for so little that I was like a very low risk loan. And I said, when can we go through it? So today was the day, and Brandon and I walked it. But when we showed up, the whole house was wired with like cameras, right? So we go up, and I could not figure
Whose
out
cameras.
the owner of the property's cameras, right? So like they're everywhere. And we go up and I'm like, where is the door? First of all, like we could not find the door. It was super weird. I know how this sounds. You're like, what do you mean you couldn't find the door? Like there's one door into the house. They've framed off the other one and sided over it. So it was like, normally you think you walk up and there's the door. No, it's like the alley was in back.
So it's a fire hazard.
Maybe. Hey, let's not advertise that. We may buy it. So anyway, long story short, we were up there, knock on the door, and then we hear somebody talking through a Nest camera or whatever they have for Ring camera or whatever. And we cannot understand them.
It's hard.
And it was not just that like English wasn't their first language. Mm. So that's one hurdle. And then the second one was there's traffic on 24th going by 24th Street, main, road in Omaha. And then it was just super hard to understand them. And we're having this confusing conversation because the wholesaler that we were dealing with was like, yeah, you're good. 130 on, whatever. And we show up and they're not home. And they're like, oh yeah. And they're like, why are you here? And we're like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
That's so
we're
annoying.
like, we thought we had we're here because of Jared, let's call him. Jared, we're here to just walk through the house or whatever. And they're like, basically like, why? Like, who the F are you? More or less is what they're saying. And we're like, oh, I'm sorry. I think there was a misunderstanding. Like we were, we're potentially going to be looking at buying the house. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, sorry, we're not there. We can be home in 15 minutes. So we had to like cool our heels for 15 minutes and they finally show up. And then they wouldn't let us in the house. They said, we have a lot of dogs. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, like we like dogs. It's
red
fine.
flag.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, when can you come back? And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't like, I have my whole week mapped out. Yeah. Like, I have a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I'm sorry, we had this scheduled. Were we off there? And they're like, they didn't know what I was talking about. They seemed to not know.
Yeah.
Long story longer, we talked to them. They wanted to show us the outside of the house. So we already waited, we already killed a half hour here. So we're like, yeah, we'll walk around. I mean, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 800 square foot house. It's like, there's not a lot to see. We already saw it, and so we walk around it, talk to them, we're talking them up and all this. And then they're like, okay, well, do you want to come in? And so we go through the house and they have like 6 dogs. They're huskies.
Yeah.
So it just smells like dog in there,
yeah,
like wet dog.
Yeah.
And anyway, we go through it and
does it smell like money?
I mean, it's a deal. We're likely not going to pay what the wholesaler is asking for because, I mean, it's a really big spread. And we need to protect ourselves more than what it is because, like, we don't know what we're getting, Anyway, virtual wholesaling, the message here is know your stuff and have boots on the ground and be really solid with your appointments and tell everyone what is going on. Give them the whole description because I feel like we only got part of it. Maybe they were looking at us like we were shady and they were like, I don't know these people. I don't want to let them in the house. And then, we started talking to them being normal and they're like, oh, okay, you're normal people. Well, yeah, we'll let you in. So we saw the whole house. So I don't know, man. It just seems weird to me.
Does that grind Owen's gears?
That did grind my gears a bit, I would say. Yes, that was this week's gear grinding.
Oh, I can't wait to start this segment every week.
Oh man. Believe me, I will have ample ammunition for this segment.
Or we're gonna get so many advertisers on this segment in the future.
Oh my God.
Car sponsors, let us know if you want to grind some gears.
Yeah. There you go. Anything you had going on this week that you want to throw out there?
Well, I got my tickets booked for the REI Summit.
I did too.
And so we're excited to be down there. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with Bigger Pockets, but we do have the REI Summit locked in and excited to go down there. I was on Ryan Miller's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll see how that turns out. And I hope I did okay for those guys.
What's it called?
Yeah, I was on the Freedom Fighter podcast with the Ryan Miller and
Tanner Sherman. Yeah.
So, got to shoot the breeze for a little bit and have a good time. And it seems like those guys are doing some big things. Ryan is buying a plumbing company.
Yeah, he's doing the Cody Sanchez little model there. We're buying trade type businesses.
He bought the whole building.
That's cool.
Free and clear.
So he bought the business and the real estate and the business.
Well, the original owner is staying 25% owner.
Yeah.
And so, so interesting take on that. And sounds like he's doing some pivots with his real estate and doing some changes. Definitely got to get him on, talk about that. And Tanner talked about different things he's doing. So, yeah, those guys are definitely staying busy.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Well, with that, I do think it's time to wrap it up because I think our listeners like the short version, not the 45-hour version of our real estate rundown.
45-hour.
But hey, if you're listening the first time or the 209th time, please leave us a review on your favorite format. And if you do love what we do, the best gift you can give to us is share us with somebody that does real estate, listens to real estate, or just likes to listen
likes comedy.
Likes the Owens comedy with his grinding the gears segment. And that's the best gift you can give us. So thank you so much. But with that, Owen Dashner, we sign us off.
On behalf of Real Radio, Aiden Bear, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner. You've been listening to the Real Estate Rundown.